Welcome. We are going to talk about the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing, a little bit about the anatomy, how to practice this, and how progression looks like. Why do we practice and develop the skill of diaphragmatic breathing? I have two primary reasons and then some secondary benefits. So the first primary reason is to calm overwhelm, to come into the state where we feel safe and more or less comfortable. I imagine this as whenever I clean my home, and I can imagine having dirty shoes on. Every step I take, I share a little bit of dirt with the house. And while I clean, I'm actually dirtying, making the home more dirty. So this means that while I'm cleaning the home, I may have to take more rounds to actually make it clean, getting all the dirt off my shoes, and then at one point have the final round. So I get my home clean at one point, but it takes a lot more time and make it more difficult. Why not clean the shoes first or take them off and then clean the house? So in the same way, the idea of developing the skill, making diaphragmatic breathing the default way of breathing, is to facilitate all the other skills that we want to develop. We can develop them, such as acceptance, concentration, kindness. However, we can also make it easier. So with diaphragmatic breathing, as the diaphragm moves, we access a state of safety, and that then will facilitate all the rest. The second reason is to develop the skill of noticing and enjoying the pleasure that arises from letting go. How nice it feels to relax, to let go. This skill will also be a recurring theme for the rest of our skills. So with this basis, then all the rest is facilitated. The secondary benefits are an understanding of cause and effect, curiosity towards causality, if this then that. So for example, if the diaphragm moves, I notice relaxation and calm. If the diaphragm is stuck, I notice tension, fear. So understanding causality. The other thing is that we can access relaxation. So it's quite surprising, and I urge you to try it out. Once you access slow, gentle diaphragmatic breaths, belly inflates, belly drops, there comes a sense of safety, comfort, relaxation, and with it, deep relaxation. This may also trigger and can be perceived as a benefit, I certainly do, as challenging emotions or memories might come up. How I understand it, as we access safety and relaxation, all the habits that were based and trained upon tension, control, not letting go, will come up because they're disharmony. So somehow this happens, and this is good because it is an opportunity. We can update them now whenever they come up. We show them that right now is safe. And as they update that right now is safe, they lose their fuel. It was based on control, resistance, and they weaken and weaken. So in this way, we can heal our emotional habits from the past, the ones that were based on resistance, controlling. Regarding the anatomy, the diaphragm is a muscle that sits just underneath the rib cage, and it is used for breathing. So let us locate and feel the diaphragm now using a couple of coughs. So you may have located and noticed how the diaphragm feels. When we talk about diaphragmatic breathing, this means the diaphragm moves down on the inhalation and moves up on the exhalation. When we talk about stress breathing, this means the diaphragm is stuck, tense, it doesn't move down or up. And we also may call this chest breathing. The opportunity we have here is when we are stress breathing, the diaphragm is stuck. This sends a signal to body and mind that right now is not safe, it is dangerous. So when the mind receives this information, the body says it's dangerous, it will brace and defend itself in order to protect you. And what it does, attention becomes restless, maybe fear, worry, these kind of things. As the mind produces these defense mechanisms, It sends the body that right now is not safe. And what does the body do? It will also brace and defend itself. How? By tensing up, maybe intensifying the stress breathing. And then this loop goes on. So we have a negative feedback loop. The same way, and this is the opportunity, we can create a positive feedback loop. By activating and making diaphragmatic breathing automatic, there's a signal of safety to body and mind. The mind receives the information of safety, then it can calm and relax, attention settles, confidence comes. The mind sends these signals of safety to the body. What does the body do? It facilitates its release. Relax. Nothing to defend to, can let go. And we have a positive feedback loop here. As you can see the benefit of cause and effect already. If diaphragmatic breathing, calm and relaxation is stress breathing, tension, fear. So you may be curious and notice this. You may notice that maybe in situations in your daily life or in other people, maybe in talk shows or before a presentation or something like this, that chest breathing or stress breathing might be active. You may just notice in yourself as the diaphragm is stuck, body tenses up, etc. So how do we practice diaphragmatic breathing? We have 5 phases. The first one being the natural phase, belly phase, belly ribs, chest, and natural phase again. In the first natural phase, where we simply observe whatever breathing pattern is currently active, we develop the skill of recognizing our current breathing pattern, whatever it may be. In the second phase, the belly phase, we strengthen the diaphragmatic muscle, learning how to move it down and up on the inhale and exhale. The third phase, belly ribs phase, as well as the fourth, belly ribs chest phase, we practice these phases in order to show the body how to breathe in various circumstances. So sometimes we cannot breathe and expand our lower belly as maybe muscles are active in certain postures, sports, activities, etc. And here we practice the skill of expanding the ribs and chest and showing a movement from bottom up rather than top down. The fifth phase is the natural phase again. Again, we develop the skill of recognizing our current breathing pattern. And the beauty of this phase is where we automate making diaphragmatic breathing default way of breathing. As we experience after these 4 phases, it may happen that we have naturally a diaphragmatic breathing happening. So we directly experience how the body is breathing diaphragmatically all by itself. With this, you develop trust and enjoyment. And with this, the mind and body will acknowledge this kind of breathing pattern and make it default bit by bit. We use hand postures to facilitate noticing what kind of breathing pattern, which phase we're in, and whether we are breathing correctly. So in the natural phase, you can have your hand just below the belly button on one of the chest, covering the whole body, or you can also have it on the side of the floor as you wish. In the lower belly phase, I recommend placing both your hands just below your belly button. As we inhale and exhale, belly lifts and drops. Belly ribs phase, both hands on the side of your ribs. And as we inhale, the ribs expands, fingertips separate. And exhale, the ribs contract, fingertips touching again. So this is an indicator as the ribs expand that we're doing the belly ribs phase correct. Belly ribs chest phase, we can place one just below the belly button and one on the chest. And then the natural phase, as you wish, keep it or drop it so you're more comfortable. So these are the phases and the postures. In general, a lying posture is recommended initially, as this facilitates the movement of the diaphragm, and then later we can bring it into any posture. I also want to share some tips regarding how to approach this practice. So one is the general attitude of being allowing, gentle and offering, rather than forcing, imposing, controlling. One reason the diaphragm might be stuck is because we don't feel safe and we try to force and control our experience. So if you continue forcing and imposing your breathing to be a certain way, then you maybe actually hinder your diaphragm of moving. So rather, when we practice, we try not to force, and we give a gentle stimulus of the diaphragm moving down, of the belly inflating. And whenever the body is ready, it will take it and inflate the lower belly. The same way when we go in the belly ribs phase, we inhale into the lower belly, ribs expand. Allow the breath to rise up rather than forcing the breath up. At one point, we want the body to do it all by itself, so we show it what is comfortable, and it will do it at one point oneself. The other tip is regarding suffocation. So you may notice that suffocation come up, a desire to breathe. So this may be of a natural transition of a different breathing method, and then simply allow your body to have time, be patient, nothing to change. Yeah, so at one point this will reside. The other thing, it may be that we are with the same attitude of imposing, breathing down, trying to inhale and inflate our lower belly even though the diaphragm is stuck. Doesn't work, and then a desire to breath, suffocation might come up. In either case, if you feel suffocation or you feel also dizzy, you are always free to pause this practice, balance yourself whenever you're ready. We retake it. And the final tip I have is focusing on being slow and gentle rather than having big volume. You train the muscle of the diaphragm by slowness rather than how big you inflate the belly. So I want to demonstrate real quick how these phases look like for you to get a picture. So we start with natural breathing, whatever it may be. Then we place both hands on the lower belly, ribs and chest stay disengaged. Inhale, lower belly lifts. Lower belly slightly drops. Belly ribs. So starting in the lower belly, initially we can open up our rib cage to facilitate it, and at one point we can drop it. And then belly ribs chest phase, starting in the lower belly, opening up ribs, allowing the air to rise up even further, filling up the chest. When you exhale, release, relax. And then again, the natural phase, noticing whatever breathing pattern is active. And if you notice diaphragmatic breathing is not active, but rather chest breathing, take some free intentional diaphragmatic breaths and then return to the natural phase again. So finally, let's talk about progress, indicators that you're doing it correctly. We develop the skill of recognizing our breathing pattern, whatever they might be. So initially you might have no sensitivity to whatever breathing pattern it is, until you have sensitivity and can recognize it anytime, whether it is diaphragmatic or stress breathing active. So a spectrum. Then we develop the skill of activating diaphragmatic breathing, so lower belly breaths maybe, or simply moving the diaphragm. Initially, you might be unable to do it, the diaphragm is stuck, to that you're able to do it maybe in a conducive environment, in a lying posture, until you can do it in any posture, anytime with ease. Also, bit by bit, improving a spectrum. Then, automating, making this breathing default, happening all by itself. So you might notice that stress breathing is active all the time, diaphragm is stuck. to more and more by itself happening diaphragmatic breaths until it becomes the default in most or all situations all the time. We also develop the ability to access relaxation and the pleasure of letting go. At the beginning, we might be fully tense, anxious, towards feeling more and more safe and relaxed and enjoying this pleasure that arises just by diaphragmatic breathing, by letting go from relaxation. We also develop the skill of cause and effect. So noticing causality, oh, when I'm stress breathing, I feel like this. When I'm diaphragmatic breathing, I feel like that. This causality that will help you for the rest of your practice as well. And one important feature is to bring this practice also in daily life. So the ability to notice your breathing pattern, to activate it, to make it natural in daily life situations, in any postures. So you might notice that before a presentation or an important discussion or whatever it may be, you notice stress breathing. Good. You can activate diaphragmatic breathing before, during, or after that situation. Good. It may happen all by itself at one point. Wonderful. And you can notice the enjoyment, how nice it feels. So these are the progressions you can see. Bit by bit, all are gradual. It will not happen one day over the other in my experience. For me personally, it took around 8 weeks' time. Everyone is unique, may happen in less time for you when you practice daily. And I wish you all the best.